Oh, here we go. Okay, we are in the sixth constant mitzvot, and we're on page 51. We're about to start. We're about to finish, I should say, the introduction, and then we'll get into the actual text work. So some may feel that the levels of spiritual perfection discussed in this work are beyond us, that it is better to present these mitzvot in a down-to-earth practical form. We contend that they should be presented in their pristine, undiluted form for two reasons. One, the first is a famous teaching of the Chidah that states, Ein davar ha'omed bifnei haratzon. Nothing stands in the way of desire. This statement, which is often mistakenly quoted as a teaching of Chazal, is most often understood to mean that if a person has a strong enough desire to do something, nothing will prevent him from succeeding. This is obviously not true because many people fail to achieve their desires despite the most strenuous efforts. The Imre Emet interprets the saying differently. Indeed, we are not always capable of executing our desires, but nothing can obstruct us from desiring something, from trying to attain lofty goals. Yes, it is very difficult, even too difficult, but why didn't you want to succeed? Okay, so even if we can't do it, or it's beyond our, I remember in, I'm going to use interesting, in 1 minute and 35 minutes, people, 1 minute and 35 seconds, they'll love me. The show Aladdin, and I remember watching, when we used to drive back and forth from Maine to Boston or to New York, so the kids we had the videos in the back, and I was forced to listen to Lion King numerous times, and Aladdin among them. And it was a very interesting line that Aladdin is saying about the queen. I think it was Aladdin, and the princess, excuse me. He's a little thief, Aladdin the thief, and he's with his buddy, and they're looking towards the castle, and he said, "You can't dream about something you can never have." That was sort of line. It was a very sad sort of line because he was recognizing that at his level, at his station in life, he wasn't Roy. He wasn't fitting for the beautiful princess, whatever her name was, okay, or is in the movie. But that's what people will say here. If it's too hard for me to reach, I'm not going to reach for it. I'm not going to reach for the stars. And he's saying, no, we should reach. We may never attain it. There's no question. But we should always want to reach for the stars. So that's why he's saying, that's why the Ashkol is saying, we want to teach this in the most pristine manner. We're not willing to dumb it down yet. First, understand what it is, and then we can deal with dumbing it down. Yeah.
I've read, maybe you have too, and maybe Meyer has classic motivational books of the early part of the 20th century, 30s, 40s, and Dale Carnegie, and I forget the other guy's name. I think Dale Carnegie said, your best chance to succeed is you must have a burning desire. And if you say, wow, I'm gonna do this and become the head of this, if you really don't have that burning desire, your chances of getting it are just
correct. They do plummet. But the other thing that Carnegie and everybody else would say is that while you have to have that burning desire, you also have to have a game plan. You have to have a game plan. And that's what we're trying to develop here, actually. We're trying to develop a game plan as to how to accomplish such a thing. He says, by discovering the true depth and the beauty of perfection, we will at least aspire to attain it. Moreover, if we limit ourselves by setting our goals on mediocrity, we can never achieve more than that. But if we aim for greatness, we can hope to achieve higher levels than anyone would have anticipated. In other words, when I'm going into a test as a student, when I was going to a test, if I said I'm only going to get a 70, I don't know, well, the odds are I'm not going to get more than a 70, a self-fulfilling prophecy. Yeah. On the other hand, if I believe that I can really do well on the test, and this, by the way, we go for SATs. SAT is I think the craziest test in history, because it just tortures you for all your knowledge that you ever amassed. But if you go in saying, I can do this, I can do really well on this, I'm not going to be, intimidated by the test. you can come out with more than a 200. Well, it's a joke, by the way. It's 200. That's $200 just for signing up, right? It's the test was, I think the highest score was 1,600. You can get, yeah.
That's also a management motivational factor. There was a book that was written in the 80s. I was with McDonald Douglas. I took a course. I was in a supervisory position. It was called the 1 Minute Manager. Maybe you remember that.
Oh, yeah, it's actually in the Torah Center.
It's what?
It's actually in the Torah Center.
So he teaches as if you're a manager and you're trying to motivate your people,
right.
If you know the guy has capabilities here, you don't give him objectives here. You give him objectives here. You make him stretch.
Correct. And that's why we're trying to do that. So he says, true, some of the levels of perfect faith, love of Hashem, and fear of Hashem, or respect for Hashem, that we will discuss are difficult to attain. But when we realize that by applying the principles of the 6 constant mitzvot in our lives, we can make each moment we spend in this world meaningful, enjoyable, and fulfilling, we will take the time to study and apply each mitzvah, ascending the ladder towards spiritual perfection, rung by rung. So now let's start. We're getting into it. It says, this is from the Chinuch. He says the existence to believe in the existence, the mitzvah to believe in the existence of Hashem. So the Chinuch says, we must believe that there is one God in the world who created all that exists and whose power and will everything came to be. Now this is important. I don't want to even fly over this. I want to understand what the Chinuch is saying. If one doesn't believe there's one God in the world, then I'm wasting my time praying to one God. Actually, I'm wasting my time praying, because who knows if that one God is more powerful than the other God. The wind God, the sun God, all these different gods that people used to pray to.
Who believes that today, though?
It doesn't matter. We all believe in the God of money. Okay? People go into business and believing that it's their business acumen that is doing. My grandma used to say a quintal of mazel, I hope I'm saying it right, a quintal of mazel is better, and that's a little bit of mazel, of luck, is better than anything else. It's better than a full job. Because that's what you need in the business. Now, she was saying that, she was saying like that. We would say you need the betachon, you need the siyata d'shmaya, the help of heaven, and so on and so forth. And that's what he's saying. But if I believe that it's me or something else, then I'm putting another God into that picture. I'm not saying I'm saying there's more than one God in this world. There's a God who was Borei Olam, if you will, the one who creates the world, or the one that we pray to, the religious entity that we deal with, and then there's real life. I just made 2 gods. Whether I like it or not, I just made 2 gods. I've made the God of religion and the God of real life. And I have the tooth fairy, and I have Santa Claus on the other side. You know, what's the difference? And that's how it's looking. So that's what he's saying. The Chinuch is saying, no, we must believe, we must have emunah, we must trust. Actually, that's the better, I don't like the translation of believe. That we must trust that there is one God in this world. And who's that God? Who created all that exists, and whose power and will everything came to be. In other words, nothing exists except that God wants it to exist. And if God didn't want it to exist, it would not exist. Okay? And that he has always been and will always be and will forever be. That God removed us from Egypt. And not, something else. It wasn't, again, if you think about it, you look at the history of Egypt. If I was just reading the papers with the Egyptian Times, if you will, so then they would tell you, so Pharaoh was tired of this, people, politically it wasn't a good mood for him to keep the Jews around, so they have to let them go, all the plagues, and God was punishing, but it wasn't because of the Jews, it was so on and so forth. So they would make things up as they go along. And that he gave us the Torah. We derive this mitzvah from the verse that says, I am Hashem your God, who has taken you out of the land of Egypt. Now this is very good for this parsha, because this parsha is Yitro this week, and we're actually going to read those very words, which means know and believe that there is a God in the world. For the word Anochi, I, assumes the existence of the one speaking. By saying who has taken you out of the land of Egypt, Hashem tells us, do not allow your heart to convince you that your removal from Egypt and the plagues that led to the defeat of Egyptians were mere coincidences. Rather, know that I took you out of Egypt with divine intervention, as I pledged to your forefathers Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. So that's the first thing we have to believe, that God is large and in charge. Something I like to always pick on God for. There's no other God. There's nobody who can tell God what to do and what not to do. And there's nothing that operates without God wanting it to operate. Okay? Now, here we are, page 57. The need to, again, we're talking about the faith in Hashem, the need to internalize. A man from England once visited the Chazon Ish. And we actually had a class in the Chazon Ish. It's called Faith and Trust. It's online. Go to Facebook. It's all there. It's called Faith and Trust. So, as the man was preparing to leave, he asked what message he could relay to the Jews back home. The Torah states, Noach ish sadik tamim hayeh b'dorotav. Noach was a righteous man, perfect in his generation, as said the Chazon Ish. Chazal, the rabbis, deduced that a person is judged based upon the level of his generation. So the Chazon Ish continued, tell the Jews of England that the challenge of our generation is to strengthen ourselves in emunah, in the faith of Hashem. Yeah.
Does that mean Noach wasn't like, today I think we make him out to be a holy, extremely pious person, or maybe he was, but this seems like he was just good in comparison to the extremely evil. So how good was he actually?
So there's an argument among the rabbis with this verse. The question was he righteous only in comparison to his generation, as you just said, or was he righteous for all generations? Yeah. That's the argument that is in the that becomes from those words. Tamim hayeh b'dorotav. Why do you have to say that he was complete in his generation? So you're right. With your question is valid, there is no decision made, but it can go either way. So yeah, it could be, and that's why that's why the rabbi said the man is judged on the level of his generation. So, and what he's saying to the people, the Chazon Ish, and he was in the 1950s he died. So he was saying to the people that we have to strengthen ourselves in the moon, because what we do not have, and what people have a problem with, I should say, sometimes we don't have it, is trust in God. That's why we do what we do. That's why we try to. That's why you have workaholics who cannot stop working. That's why when we try to make the system, we try to run the system, we try to go into stocks. There's people who, in the days before mutual funds became famous, people used to invest in stocks like Enron and AT&T. All those, I would pick a stock and I would invest in that. Compared to now, most people will go into mutual funds, because mutual funds is just an easier and better investment, they say. But it's also the poor man's investment. I'm not a gambler, that much of a gambler. If I go into mutual funds, as if I go into one stock. If I go into one stock, I pick WWE, the World Wrestling Federation, or OPHC, Ultimate Bank. Okay, so I'm relying upon in WWE Vince McMahon, in OPTC Moshe Gubin, right? I'm relying upon those two and saying I trust those two to do a great job and to really make my investment grow. So either I make it or I don't. Okay, either I make it or I don't. As compared to mutual funds, where I'm not relying upon one or two individuals, I'm relying upon a whole system. So my emunah in Hashem has to be the equal, by the way, in both sets. Because let's face it, the economy can bottom out. Everything can go broke. It wouldn't be the first time in history. Hopefully it was the last time in history, and hopefully it won't happen in our time. But there's no guarantees to that. So again, when I'm investing, I have to say to Hashem, this is really your money, and I'm investing for you. And hopefully, as you as my partner, we'll do well in the stock market. But I know if I leave it in my mattress, I'm not going to get any richer from it. Yeah. It's just going to be there. And it can't grow, and it can't do anything else. Yeah. And it says that, and by the way, interesting enough, the Gemara says Hashem does not do miracles with nothing. In other words, we have. If I want to see my money grow, if I keep counting the money, you'll never see it grow. It's only God can work behind the scenes, as it were, and that's what God wants to do. He wants to work behind the scenes. So if I give money in the bank and suddenly I have a windfall from that stock, it's all from Hashem. It's all from Hashem. And the same way, if I would lose it, it's all from Hashem. Yeah. I like how you go up. You give me a warning. Go ahead.
So it seems like God is trying to get us to not have trust in Him because He purposely worked behind the scenes to make it look like it was just a coincidence.
Right.
Like a test.
Well, why would that be? Well, you tell me why would that be? You're correct, but why would that be? If God would make, yeah, we're all religious people, right? Okay, we're all Shomer Shabbos, Shomer Kashrut. Are we all rich? If I were a rich man. It's his favorite song.
It would spoil some vast eternal plan.
Okay, what would be the vast eternal plan that's going to spoil?
That I should continue to be the way I am. That would be the vast eternal plan that's spoiled.
Right, and what's going to happen is if they see all of us successful, everybody sees it, where's your free choice? There's no free choice anymore. If I do everything I do is, and I sit down and I learn Torah and I'm sitting on what's it called YouTube all day long and I'm sitting and I get millions of hits and people are sending me money from all over the place. Fred Neville, checks out, no tax deduction here. Okay, but and suddenly I get all this stuff, all the revenue coming in. It's tremendous. I'm getting rich, and I'm sitting here learning Torah all day. I'm not worrying about anything else. I'm teaching Torah. I'm learning Torah. I don't have to go out and work. And not only me, but every religious Jew. What person would not want to do what I'm doing? Think about that. Really think about that. Who would want to have to go to a 9-to-5 job or to have to compete with remember, I'm a rich man. I am a rich man. Literally and figuratively. Okay? At that point, I'm a rich man. So, I am the superstar. You're not looking to Madonna. You're not looking to Kobe Jenkins or whatever these sports car. What are these? Kobe, what's his name?
Don't know.
I don't know. All these sports machines. You're not looking at them. You're not looking at the champions. You're not looking at anybody because they're working so hard to eke out a little living, and I'm sitting here eating my Delmonico steaks. For those who like meat, okay, or you're having your tremendous whatever that would be in vegetarian stuff, okay? But we're having a good time. Think about that. We're driving the Lexuses, all the beautiful cars. We have no problems. And the money keeps rolling in. There's no end. And we're all healthy. We're all in great shape. We can eat, what's it called? We can eat Krispy Kreme all day long, for those who like it, and not gain a pound because we learn Torah. Can you imagine? Who wouldn't want to be on our team? Who wouldn't look to us and say, well, I want to do that? They would lose all free will. By us having to do what we do, by having to live in our non-palatial homes, by living sometimes with or air conditioning. If you live in the city without air conditioning, whatever, you don't have everything. And some people nebuch live in squalor. Go to Eretz Yisrael. You don't have to go to Eretz Yisrael, but you can go to Brooklyn. You can go to Lakewood. You can stay in South Bend. You see people who are religious and they're just not making ends meet. They're just not. And so what happens is you say, well, why would I want to do that? I'd rather try my best. I'll make some money, invest and do what I have to do. Being religious doesn't make me money. So they have to work hard. That's emunah, bud. That's the whole thing. I'm trusting Hashem. Hashem has His ways. I don't know what they are, but I have to trust that whatever Hashem is throwing at me is for good. And for my good, by the way. For my good. It's really going to make me the person the best I can be. So Hashem... Oh, that's him? Okay. So that's. I thought the bell was ringing. I was saying the door was open. Okay. So now do you understand? Okay. So he says the first of the six. Right. Okay, right. So the first of the 6 mitzvot is Hani Hashem Elokecha Asher Tzitzicha Me'Eretz Mitzrayim. I am Hashem your God who has taken you out the land of Egypt. This mitzvah is often referred to as emunah, as in faith or trust. Since these words come from the first verse of the 10 Commandments, we assume that this verse is the first of those commandments, and according to most rabbis, the Rishonim, our assumption is correct. Surprisingly, however, some Rishonim, the Bahag and the Rabbi Sadia Gaon, maintain that this is not a commandment at all. Their case is so compelling, in fact, that the burden of proof is on those who disagree. When a teacher walks into a classroom on the first day of the school year, he says, "Good morning, I am your teacher, Mr. Smith." He has not instructed anyone to do anything. He simply introduced himself. In the same way, the words, "I am Hashem your God," do not seem to be a commandment, contend the Bahag and Rav Serdi Gaon, but an introduction. "I am Hashem your God, therefore you must obey me when I command you to do A, B, and C." Okay. Now Rashi, like I said, he's only quoting the Bahag and the Rav Serdi Gaon. Everybody else is saying that is outright that's a commandment. The Ramban will say, and I'm not going to be speaking about this Thursday, so I'll say it right now. Nachmanides says that this is a principle, a matter of faith, that I am Hashem your God. If you don't accept that I am Hashem your God who took you out of Egypt, then you're denying the basic principle of God.
So that sounds like a
The command. The Ramban is making it a command, clearly a command. So I just want to put that out there. That is, and that's what he's saying. Most Rishonim say it's a command. It's these two who are saying otherwise, and this is their reason. Fine. The majority of Rishonim, however, Rambam, Chinuch among them, maintain that this verse contains the mitzvah of emunah, the faith that Hashem exists. According to them, the parallel drawn from a school teacher's introduction is inaccurate, because his students need not exercise faith or trust in order to believe that he is there. They see him. He is greeting, his greeting to his class, therefore is no more than an introduction. Since we cannot see Hashem, however, when he states, "Anochi Hashem Lokecha, I am Hashem your God," he is not merely introducing himself, he is commanding us to believe that he exists. And here again, we have to look at the Hebrew. Ani Hashem, I am the Yud Kei Vav Kei, I am the God of mercy, Elokecha, and the God of justice. Don't think that we have two gods out there. There's only one God. It just depends on your perception of what's happening. So there's no devil. There's no devil fighting God. There's nothing like that. It's all Hashem, and that's what we have to understand.
It's funny that in the usual translations they pick it up that "I am the Lord your God."
Right. Well, they're distinguishing between.
They can't translate this as
Correct. Like I said in the Hebrew class, today, and actually I had two Hebrew classes today. So I said, like I said in the Hebrew class, when you're looking at Hebrew, I think I said to your class many times too, that the words have so much meaning behind them. The Hebrew word itself has a lot of meaning. It's pregnant with meaning. And so when we pick an English equivalent, we've decided in our minds what that's going, and we've given an explanation for the word. And it's no good because we don't let the word speak for itself. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Well, so because of the way we pronounce the Yud Kei and Vav Kei, we pronounce it as the Lord. You know, that's
right.
So what are the non-Jewish translators that?
Well, right, but they don't. They can't. They don't even have. There's no. But I'm saying even the Jewish translators, they can't. There's nothing to. That's why the Reform. I have to give Reform credit for this one. They never translated Adonai. They just leave it Adonai. And they said we can't translate it. Now they're doing it because what's it called? Male, female
In
stuff.
other words, on the English side of the page.
Yeah, they'll say Adonai.
They show the Yod-Keh-Vav-Keh.
Yeah. No, they'll spell Adonai in English, but in
Oh.
but I'm saying they won't translate it as God or anything like that, or Lord.
Yeah, so
'Cause- but they're
that's the
it's,
question why Artsville has to use Hashem.
right. Oh, that's right. Okay,
Tradition.
there you go.
No,
That's the
I was
Tradition
guessing.
magazine.
Well, they chose to put
No, they-
Hashem instead of Lord.
Correct, and that's
Is Hashem the name?
yes.
Okay.
Okay. So, but this explanation is insufficient, he said. If Anochi were intended as a commandment, Hashem should have explicitly said, I am Hashem, believe that I exist. Why couch the commandment as an introductory statement? I am Hashem, your God. Moreover, it would seem that a commandment instructing people to believe that God exists is either useless or redundant. Those who doubt his existence do not study the commandments to begin with. And even if they do, they are unlikely to believe simply because they read the verse, Anochi Hashem Elokecha, that I am Hashem your God. And if the verse is addressed to those who already believe, why must they be commanded to believe? You understand what he's saying? It doesn't make sense. If you're saying this is a commandment, who are you speaking to? If I believe in you, shkoyach, I believe in you. I don't need you to command me to believe in you. If I don't believe in you, so why am I would listen to either? Luke, I am your father. You know, if Luke, you know what I'm referring to? Okay, good. It's not everybody's the Star Wars guy, yeah. But when he said that to, when Darth Vader said that to Luke had a choice. He had a choice to either believe Darth Vader is his father, and apparently he does when he says, no! But he does believe him because he understands, wait, you know what? It feels right. This must be my dad, so I'm going to jump off their thing and die. Whatever he does, he jumps off, no? Yeah, he jumps off into the abyss. I don't know what happens to him.
Well, but there are non-believing Jews that
No, but you don't hear what I'm saying. If I don't believe you, so then what are you bothering me for? I'm not going to listen to you anyway. If Luke, remember the scene. Luke is fighting with Darth Vader, right? And Darth Vader says, I am your father. Luke, I am your father. So Luke has a choice. Either I believe this Michiganer, that he's my father, and then I have to have compassion on what am I going to do when he's trying to negotiate with me? Or I say, you're not, and take off your head, or die, whatever the case is going to be. But he does believe him. That's why he says, no, and falls off into the abyss. Okay.
But that's what I'm saying is that there are affiliated Jews that don't believe 100% in the Torah, so they are reading it, but they refuse to accept this explanation of it.
Correct.
But they're still, they're reading it.
Oh, no, that's his point. So if you're commanding me to believe, if God's commanding me to believe, I am God, believe in me. So if I don't believe in you, what's your command going to do? Your command is worthless.
Maybe they'll eventually see the light.
No. The point is your command is worthless.
Ah.
And if I already believe, so
Yeah.
what are you doing? It doesn't make sense.
Well, so it's reinforcing those who already believe.
Okay? So now let's look what he's saying. But that's what he's getting into. He's saying, in discussing the mitzvah of Emunah, in the very first lines of Yad HaChazakah, which is the Mishnah Torah, Maimonides writes that the fundamental of Judaism is Leda, to know that there is a first existence that created all that exists. It is interesting that Rambam does not say that we are commanded to believe. He says the commandment is to know. What's the difference between belief and knowledge? To different
Believe is, well, I believe it. I don't have proof, but I believe it so. If you know it,
exactly.
you don't need the proof.
Good. Now let's see if he agrees. But you are right. That is what the basic difference would be. Believe means I have to trust you, as compared to I know 2 + 2 = 4. I don't need to trust you. 1, 2, 3, 4. In the base 10, I'm right. Okay.
The part from the little Rabbi was here with the Aisha Torah. What do you call it?
Discovery.
Yeah,
discovery.
Well, everybody, most people believe that there is a China, and most people haven't been to China, but we learn in school, we look at the globe, a model
Right.
globe. There's China over there in the eye. I believe it's there. Everybody says so. Is people from China.
Right, but we
haven't seen it.
Yeah, but we know it. We know it. What we don't know, if you want to get into belief versus knowing, belief versus knowing, we don't know that somebody landed on the moon. We believe they landed on the moon. But because of, and I'm not a conspiracy, I 100% believe they landed on the moon. Okay, that's out there. But for those people who believe that they didn't, is because they say, it's a camera. You can do anything with cameras. And so that's where they come from. So that, like I said, knowing and belief, that's what we're looking at. To differentiate between the two, we must remember that the revelation of Sinai did not occur in a vacuum. It is not as if 600,000 men, along with their wives, children, and souls of all of their descendants, were wandering through a desert when suddenly the heavens split and God said, I am Hashem, your God. The revelation was the finale of a process that began when Hashem heeded the cries of the Jewish nation enslaved in Egypt and struck the Egyptians with the plagues. The process continued when the Jews left Egypt and when Hashem split the Yam Suf, the Sea of Reeds, and saved them from the Egyptian pursuers. Before that process, there may have been some doubt about who controlled the world. The Egyptians were idolaters who served the Nile, sheep, and Pharaoh, among other gods. They were also experts in kishuf and black magic, which occasionally enabled them to make nature conform to their wishes. The Jews who emerged from the Yam Suf, the Reed Sea, understood clearly that none of these forces had any power. They had seen all the Egyptian gods defeated. The water of the Nile had been turned into blood. Sheep died in the plagues of Dever, of pestilence, and Barad and hail. And Pharaoh humbly came to Moshe to beg Moshe for mercy when he thought that he would die during the Makkah Bechorot, the plague of the firstborn. Pharaoh's sorcerers had also admitted defeat when they could not duplicate some of the plagues with their black magic. Logic dictated that there must be some unseen force controlling the world. And when Moshe identified that force to be Hashem, we believed him. Okay. At Sinai, you understand what's going on there, right? Yeah. You see all these things happening, and I tell you the reason is blank. And so you say, you know what? It makes sense. Makes sense. I believe you. No problem. At Sinai, by the way, this also can work against you. Just understand that. It can work against you because what happens? I'm a good salesman. I'm a great salesman, right? Huge. No, I'm great. Like what's his name? Trump. I'm a great at everything I do. Okay, I'm a great salesman, right? So what happens is I decide I want to sell you something. I don't know. Pick whatever you want to pick, and they do it in politics all the time. When they want to get, and I'll give you examples. 2 examples. In 1979, they were trying to stop. They wanted to raise the drinking age in Massachusetts from 18 to 21. So,
you buy
what?
Liquor at 18 back then?
Yeah, you could buy liquor at 18. You could do anything.
18.
You can go if you could die in the army
because of Vietnam. Yeah.
You can get a drink, no problem.
Yeah.
Okay. So what happened was Governor Eddie King, I think it was Ed King. I'm pretty sure what his name is. He wanted to raise to 21. That was his whole agenda. So what happened was every other day, the news media found some young kid who crashed because he was drunk. Every single day, bang, 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 and he mustered enough support, bang. Raised the drinking age. It went slowly. It went from 18 to 19 to 20 to 21. In those years, I was always on the cutting edge. I always just missed it by a month. It really broke my heart. Oh, darn! I couldn't get that beer. Actually, I could get a beer for 1 month every year or something like that. I don't know. Who knows? But that's what happened. Later on, Now, fast forward to maybe 2000, they wanted to get the old timers off the road. This was just recently, 2000, 2005. They were trying to get all the old timers off the road. So what do? They start getting all these stories of the old timers, 80, 79, 75, who were crashing their cars. And if you just have to watch the news story after news story after news story, these people can't drive, they're no good, we have to get them off the road. Now they didn't do that because there's one thing in this country that is different. When you pick on an 18-year-old, an 18-year-old doesn't know anything, they don't vote. They have no political power. Senior citizens, are you crazy? You're going to go against them? They will vote you out of office. They have power. And that's one thing that they didn't count on. Because the AARP and everybody else really jumped down their throat and said, you will not take my license away from me, pal. You'll be out of office before that happens. Okay. And that's why it never happened. That's why they couldn't do anything to the old timers.
Well, of course, it's good. I think that the state should, whatever the age might be, perhaps above a certain age, perhaps every 3 year, whenever your license comes up, they should have you take the road test again and your physical reaction test, how quick you are. Perhaps that would be better.
I don't know. I'm not sure if I want. I think people know when it's time to stop. I think people know, and I think people respect that, and they get off the road. But to say, I know that people have voluntarily given up their license. Yeah. They told the kids here, take it, I'm through. Because it's scary. The civic is scary. You don't want to hurt somebody. And nobody's foolish. They don't want to hurt, but they also don't want to give up freedom. So, you're not going to give your license up.
For a long time, even since my 50s, I've slowed down.
Right.
You just reach a certain point where you say, I don't need to get crazy with this.
Right.
Let the other guy go.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. We go on, but I'm saying that's what they try to do. So they take these facts, or the quote unquote facts, and they try to manufacture something. So let's say it can work against you, and I believe that after a while.
Yeah.
Like I said, I know a person who could make you believe, give him 10 minutes, he could make you believe that Obama is the best president ever. And nothing is his fault. Yeah, it would take him 10 minutes. He could make you believe it. He's a good salesman that way. Okay. And whether you like it or not, he can make you believe. Okay?
No, he couldn't.
Okay, maybe not you.
He's not that good.
Okay, maybe not you. So now at Sinai, there was a new element. We saw a manifestation of Hashem's presence. We experienced the absolute reality of his existence. Once the divine presence descended and declared, I am Hashem your God, who has taken you out of the land of Egypt. We knew that he existed. Belief had become knowledge. According to Rambam, the mitzvah is to recreate and live with the certainty we had at Sinai, to know that God exists, not just believe it. Similarly, the Chinuch states that the mitzvah of Amunah is to take the basic level of faith that already exists in our mind, build on it, and internalize it, so that we feel Hashem's influence with clarity and certainty. These Rishonim present us with what seems to be an impossible challenge. The Jewish people who stood at Sinai were able to be certain of Hashem's existence because they saw a manifestation of his presence. We unfortunately are not privy to such a phenomenal display. We don't get to see sound and hear sights as they did. Is it really possible for us to attain the level of certainty that the Rambam and the Chinuch require? Yeah.
Didn't we then commit the sin of the golden
Say it again?
Didn't after doing that, we committed the sin of the golden calf?
Yes. And therefore?
They belief turned to knowledge, and then knowledge sort of went down the drain. They said, well, maybe it's not entirely, maybe we don't have to have complete faith in Hashem. Maybe there's some problems here. Maybe, okay, we should.
Okay, so now, you're taking the with your statement of the golden calf,
right.
Okay? You're taking the story as they saw the golden calf as God, yes? As gods,
yeah.
Yes? Okay. So now I'm going to blow your mind. Okay? If you look at the word, it says, let us make Elohim. Right? What's Elohim mean in English? What's it mean in English, the word Elohim?
Judge.
Judges.
Yeah,
Let us make judges. Let us make leaders.
Yeah.
So we're going to make this leader, this bull, or whatever the thing is going to be, and it's going to take Moshe's place. They never said we want to take God's place. It says Moshe the man has left us. And we need another leader. Make us gods. Make us Elohim. Well, we translated gods. Make us Elohim. So it's not that they're saying we're throwing God out of the equation. God forbid. They would look at you and say, "Are you crazy?" We just had the revelation. We're not stupid. We know that God's there, but we need a leader because our leader, the one that was talking to God for us, has left the building, and we don't know what happened to him. He may have died. We need somebody else who's going to be our intermediary because, let's face it, we make no gods there, but who in this room really believes that they have a one-on-one like Moses? Actually, who even thinks that they have a one-on-one? When you're praying to God with all the kavanah that you can muster, do you see God right there in front of you? No. I know I don't. Okay? I know I'm talking to God, and I can have that conversation when I'm washing dishes or walking around. I can have that conversation, but you know what? I normally don't hear a voice coming back at me. It's a one-way conversation. And I know that God's responding to me, and I know I'm not tuned into it. I really believe that. I have no problem saying that. But I don't have the connection that Moshe had. So if I could get, and that's why people go to Rebbes, these Hasidim. They go to the Rebbe. Because the Rebbe has a connection, a greater connection than they do. He probably does, by the way. He's probably spiritually higher than they are, no question. Okay, and so they go to him for their spiritual guidance, like they would go to Moshe Rabbeinu. I have no problem saying that, and I have no problem believing that's absolutely true. We in the Misnagdisha world look at that and say, "Oh, no, it's crazy." Maybe it's because I'm in both worlds so many times. I hold that they have a logical thing to say that somebody who is higher spiritually has a better connection than I do. And I have no problem saying that. And I don't know why anybody does. It's craziness. Just like when I want to have a medical, if I want to have a medical statement about me, I don't go to the doctor of philosophy. I go to the MD. Okay? They're both doctors? Great. I'm happy they're all doctors. And I'm not going to go to the first-year medical student. I'm going to go to the old man with the older timer that has a couple of 30, 40 years of experience and say, "Okay, what are you seeing here? Let's have a discussion." And hopefully the guy will know, or the person will know what they're talking about. But that's what's going on. So we have to figure that, we have to hear that. Now, it says, "Are we all philosophers?" The Rambam writes, we're on day 6. We're moving here. The Rambam writes that the way to come to positive proof of Hashem's existence is to realize that there is no other explanation for first existence. Okay, so here's Mr. Orenstein. This is all your ammunition for.
Where did that first particle
Right.
matter and first disturbance of energy come from? What's
Correct.
started it?
Right. All other systems of explaining creation fall short when they get back to the first step. They claim to have an explanation for step 2 or 2 million, but they can never explain step 1. In other words, how did it happen? Where did we come from? You can explain Big Bang and blah, 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 and everything after that. But where did that original stuff come from to have the Big Bang to begin with? It would seem, and by the way, I can say that, again, I have no problem saying that all these atheists and everything are cracked. I have no problem saying that, and I truly believe that. But they also look at me and say, "Well, are you crazy? I should believe that something's here." Now, there's one guy, I forget who Richard Dawkins, I think it was Richard Dawkins. He said, "You may be able to get me for the first step. You may be, but I can't believe," then he goes on, "but I can't believe that a God would come down and give us a book and blah, blah, blah." No, but whoa, I just got you, pal. I just got you. You just admitted to me that you could say that there's a God because you can't explain the first step. So you just want to say the first step is God. You don't want to say that God gave me a book. Why? Because you don't want to follow it. I don't really care what you want. Now you're just a little baby. But you're willing to admit with me that it doesn't, that what's his name? Aristotle didn't, and even Aristotle said there had to be something first. He wanted to hold that there's an eternal, what do you call it, universe. But that doesn't make sense either. How can it be? There's no such thing as an eternal universe. Things are blowing up all over the place. So that doesn't make sense. Okay, so that's why he's saying, once you get a person to admit that there has to be a first thing, a first creation, you got it. And if they don't want to admit to that, then they have to come up with a whole other theory, which doesn't make sense either.
The normal cop-out is science will one day explain that. That's
not a cop-out. That's just a foolish statement. That's all. By the way, even if they could explain it, it doesn't take away God. Just because I can explain something doesn't take away God's doing it.
I mean,
but that's an important point to say. Even if we can explain a lot of things, it doesn't take God out of the equation. It means that God is the one who did it. That's all. That's all I'm saying.
Can't explain first. I mean, so one guy talks about, well, you're saying that your Bible says everything was null and void, total emptiness, and they claim that's not true. They're saying that there was some particles and some energy ripples that was always out there.
Oh no, so that's Aristotle. That's Aristotle. Then there's nothing new out there. There's nothing new. It's either Aristotle's thing of an eternal universe, or it's first cause. By the way, for the first cause, that means that they're holding by spontaneous generation. Okay? This is, I want you to understand this.
From nothing, if there's no matter.
Spontaneous generation, which we as a scientific community rejected. Okay?
Accepted and then rejected.
No. I'm saying we rejected as of late. So for the past 100 years at least, we've rejected it.
But we did accept it once.
Yeah, no, of course we did. No, I'm not. And right. So they used to believe that if I would put a rag over feces, a mouse or something would come from it, and that was a mouse or flies, whatever it was. And it's only Louis Pasteur who comes around and proves through experimentation that wasn't true.
From this.
Yeah, so right.
That's still having matter first, though.
No, 100%. But they would say that the life came from nothing.
Yeah.
So it's spontaneous generation. So those who hold by first cause necessarily hold by spontaneous generation. Necessarily. Okay? So that solves a lot of problems in the Gemara, by the way, to say that. Okay? I'm just saying that. For those who hold no, that universe was eternal, there was never a time there wasn't a universe, without explaining how that works in reality. Okay, they don't believe at all in spontaneous generation. So you have to you're combining and matching things when people say there was a mass. So the mass means something was always there. Something was always there. You're holding by Aristotle. If you're saying that was the first cause, then you're holding by the other side of the picture. Okay, so make your choice. There's nothing new. We've had this argument for thousands of years. Okay?
I think you coined an internet meme tonight.
Which one?
Things are blowing up all over.
I said that?
Yes, you said that.
Okay.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Okay.
How can you say the universe is unchanging? Things are blowing up.
Oh, there you go. Thank you. Okay. Well, when it goes, what is it called? When it goes viral. When it goes viral. Yeah. There you go. Like the other guy went viral for saying something. I'll go viral for this. Who cares? But it's yeah. Okay. So it would seem that the Rambam. Right. So it would seem that the Rambam maintains that in order to fulfill the mitzvah of Emunah, each Jew must be an analytical philosopher. But few human beings can grasp such deep philosophical proofs. Does that mean that most people are unable to fulfill the mitzvah of Emunah? So the Chinuch teaches that there are simpler methods of fulfilling this mitzvah. He writes that there are 3 ways to internalize Emunah. One is when we talk about Emunah, both to others and to ourselves, it penetrates deep into our hearts and becomes part of our consciousness. Reb Shlomo Wolb, the Mashgiach of Yeshiva Bir Yaakov, once traveled to Rabbi Yechezkel Levenstein, the Mashgiach of Panovich, yeah, thank you, to discuss a difficulty he was having with one of his students. When they were done, Rav Wolbe turned to leave, but Rav Chetzkel called him back. Tell me, do you know that there is a creator? Rav Wolbe was shocked. He assumed that there must be some hidden depth to Rav Chetzkel's question that he could not understand what it was. Yes, he answered after a few moments. Apparently unsatisfied, Rav Chetzkel repeated, do you really know the world has a creator? Once again, Rav Wolbe paused and again said, yes, I know there's a creator. Good, replied Rav Chetzkel. Then go back and tell your Talmidim that there's a creator. It took a long time for me to understand what Rav Chetzkel wanted, recalled Rav Wolbe. 2 weeks after this incident, I finally realized what it meant. There are people who go through their daily lives, studying Torah, performing mitzvot, living as all good Jews should, without feeling in the depth of their hearts that there is a creator. Rav Chetzkel was telling me that I should be sure to infuse my students with the knowledge and feeling of Hashem's existence. And this is when you go on autopilot, by the way. Those who go to Minyan, those who, again, eat kosher, keep Shabbos, but they're on autopilot. They're not really thinking, I'm doing this for Hashem. They're doing it because the community wants them to. You want to know why people go off the derech, or whatever they want to call themselves, turning non-religious? It's because they never internalize these beliefs. There was a story that your son-in-law actually liked or shared on the net. It's all over the net right now. The Hasidic guy went to the now he's non-Hasidic. Fine, he left religiosity. So the basic question is, why leave? The only life out there is not Hasidic. And in the Orthodox world, we have a wide spectrum. You can go from Hasidic to Aguda to Black Hat to modern Orthodox to open Orthodox. You have a whole bunch of orthodoxies to go to. Why would you throw the baby away with the bathwater? Okay, that's the question. Why wouldn't you go conservative? Why wouldn't you go reform? You have even more of the big tent. You don't like what we're teaching, so go somewhere else. What are you throwing all of it away? Because you never internalize who you're serving. That's the problem. We think that if we become, in certain circles, more stringent, then, we're holier. Other people say, no, you have to be more lenient, we're really holy. Because, koach tehetera adif. It says in the Gemara, Beitza, first daf, koach tehetera adif, the power to give a leniency is better. So if I'm giving a heter, I must be the best guy. I must be living the life the way that Hashem really wanted. So I'm really holier than the guy being stringent. No, everybody has to find their niche. That's really what it is. Judaism never said that we have to all fit into the same hole or the same square. That's why there's so many different people out there. Each one of us is different. We all have something to offer. Granted, there's going to be some things we agree with, hopefully. Okay, and we'll all get together, we'll have a minyan, and we'll all do what we do. And we're all going to hopefully satisfy ourselves with what we can and what we can't eat standards. But, what's this? Huh? Okay. But that's what we're looking for. So that's what he's saying. Talk about Emunah. Talk about believing in Hashem. Because ultimately, who are we working for? Hashem. We're not working to make, you're not putting tefillin on to make me happy. Maybe you are, I don't know. It's very nice if you are. But I'm not the one that gets rewards out. I'm not the one that gives the candy. Maybe I get candy. But I don't give the big reward, okay? But you're really serving Hashem. That's number one. Number two, the Chinuch teaches that when we act with Emunah, not only do we show that Hashem's existence is real to us, we also strengthen our Emunah. Each time we make a decision to act in a certain manner, because we feel that Hashem is watching us, we strengthen our faith in Him. Sacrifice comes on two levels, and the greater the sacrifice, the more our emunah will grow from it. The ultimate level of sacrifice is when a person is ready to give his life for his emunah. The very last breath of a person who allows himself to be killed, rather than deny his faith in Hashem, will be accompanied by a level of perfect clarity of Hashem's existence. Rav Elazar Menachem Man Shach would often tell the following poignant story that occurred during the Holocaust. a group of Jews was taken to die in the gas chambers of Auschwitz. As they were waiting online, someone announced, "Yidden, today is Simchat Torah, we have to rejoice." Rejoice? Those surrounded him wondered, how can we rejoice? We don't have a Sefer Torah to dance with. Not how can we rejoice. You hear that? We don't have a Sefer Torah to dance with. Now, they weren't even arguing we shouldn't rejoice. They're saying, how can we? We don't have a Sefer Torah, okay? The Nazis have taken every vestige of godliness from us. How can we rejoice? No sooner did they ask the question than they found the answer. We may not have anything to rejoice with, but we have the Creator. They can never take Hashem away from us. Let us rejoice and dance with Hashem. That's really internalizing Hashem. Rev Shach would describe how they danced away the last few moments of their lives, rejoicing with the absolute certainty that Hashem was with them. All feelings of happiness we can experience in this world pale in comparison to what those Jews felt, Rev Shach would conclude. No experience on earth can compare to the joy felt by Jews dancing with Hashem on the way to the gas chambers. In other words, even to the way to the gas chambers. You're talking about, again, religious people. They understood that Hashem was with them. They understood. I don't know how they understood it, by the way. It's way beyond what I would be thinking. Okay? I'm quite serious with that. But they understood this is for the best. Whatever it is, Hashem has His designs. And they cannot take Hashem away from us. Sacrifice does not necessarily mean dying, however. The second level of sacrifice can be experienced daily, when a person has a chance to earn money illicitly and refrains from doing so because he realizes that Hashem is watching him. He is displaying his emunah. A person sitting with a can of tuna at a business meeting held in an elegant, non-kosher restaurant is displaying emunah. There's a kosher tuna, okay? In each instance in which we sacrifice for our belief, our faith increases in proportion to the difficulty involved. And he says, in studying Rambam's opinion, we chose the most common definition of Leda to know, which leads us to the conclusion that the Rambam considers Emunah a primarily philosophical mitzvah. The Chinuch's mention of the concept of acting with Emunah brings to mind an additional usage of Leda, which appears in the verse, Ha'adam yada et chavi ishto, that man had known his wife. This usage suggests an intimate form of knowledge that would require one to act in accordance with that knowledge. We can say, therefore, that Rambam agrees that philosophical knowledge of Hashem's existence is insufficient. The knowledge of Hashem's existence must be clear enough to cause one to act in a manner that reflects that knowledge, as we shall explain. Now, I just want to do the last one. Use wisdom to build emunah, and then we'll stop. So, Chinuch writes that while every Jew can build his emunah through talking about it and sacrificing for it, some are fortunate enough to be able to use wisdom to solidify their faith. Those who utilize wisdom to build emunah fulfill the mitzvah in the most meaningful manner, concludes the Chinuch. The Chinuch does not limit the mitzvah of emunah to those who can appreciate the nuances of philosophy, as the Rambam does, but he agrees that the most meaningful fulfillment of the mitzvah is through the use of philosophical proof. However, is there no value in emunah peshuta, the simple faith, in the existence of God without examining the philosophical proofs? There must be another side to the issue, and that will start next week. Any questions? Good.